Hi internet people. So I specifically picked this shirt because Pop's Diner actually has its own little subplot happening in connection to the lodges. So okay, this episode of Riverdale, I'm going to point out that Archie does some stuff and I'm just like, Archie. Okay, so there's a lot happening. I didn't take notes with this episode, which is so weird. Sometimes when I watch it earlier in the day, I take a lot of notes. So a lot of this episode is focused on the lodges and how Jughead is trying to expose them. So he's trying to find out more about what the lodges are doing, why they're buying all of this property up, what's happening. He needs a source. He can't find a source, so he's hunting for more resources. FP wants him to let it go, but Jughead keeps pursuing it. So while that's going on, Archie winds up he's really helping the lodges. He's super involved with the lodges. We knew that was happening. It gets really intense. So the lodges actually ask Fred if he'll run for mayor because they want to support him as a mayoral candidate. They're even going to sponsor his campaign. That gets real hinky because they need someone in power so that they control the government, because their mayoral candidate would then do whatever the lodges want the mayoral candidate to do, which is what they were trying to get Mayor McCoy to do until she left. Archie realizes that's what's going on, which is good on Archie, okay? He does realize that the lodges are going to use his dad. But he only figures that out when he's informed that the project the lodges are working on is to build a prison, or I think it's a prison. It's a high security facility, which I know prison and jail have different connotations, but they're building a facility and they want to use the land where Southside High was. So they've been buying up all of this to develop it into a prison complex. And Fred is not cool with this. Archie's also not cool with it because he finds out shady stuff's happening. He tries to get Mayor McCoy to talk his dad out of it. His dad's like, no. They have a chat. When they meet with the lodges again, the lodges tell them what's actually going on, in theory, because Fred, I don't think, has put together that this is all shady underworld crime stuff. I don't know how he grew up with some of them. I'm just whatever, dude, okay. So he finds out about the prison thing and he's like, I can't support that, I can't be your candidate, I can't do that. And then what bothers me about this is Archie actually chooses the lodges over his dad. And I know he's entrenched with the lodges. I don't know if he's trying to make it, to protect his dad, he's staying with the lodges, but it's a weird decision on his part when he tried to protect his dad so hardcore at the beginning of the season. He was trying to dissuade him from being mayor, but he's not leaving the lodges. And he's also undermining the lodges in a terrible way. He's making very unsafe decisions. So he winds up telling Jughead everything. Well, about the Sodale project. He doesn't delve into the whole oh, her father is also a mobster and there's all the, no. He focuses on the Sodale project. Jughead knows about it. He writes a huge expose about it and he wants to publish it in the school paper. That gets overturned. You can't post it. They're we can't do that. Betty wants to. The school, not so much. So Jughead knows all of this, but he is trying to find a way to get more of that information out there. He can't name Archie, so he needs a better source, he needs more info. But he that's all he has. So Jughead's working on that. Jughead's focus for this episode is trying to figure out what the lodges are up to and how to reveal it. He finds out about that, he wants to try and reveal it. FP actually winds up telling Jughead, well, they hired the snakes to destroy the theater. You never asked me to go on the record. And I could, because Jughead doesn't want him involved. What winds up happening is Jughead gets a mysterious call from someone he names Deep Throat from Watergate. Get it? So he winds up meeting someone, and it's totally the old doorman, whose name I'm blanking on because I'm sorry, but it's totally him. He then says he can tell him so much about the lodges, and then, yeah, that's not going to be good for anybody because that's a lot of stuff. So that's happening with Jughead and Archie, while the rest of this episode is kind of focused on the Blossoms. I mean, the Coopers have their own plot, so Betty doesn't trust Chick, and she and Kevin are actually catfishing him, which is really weird, to try and figure out what's going on. So she's working with Kevin. Kevin has been going on these faux video dates, but then he winds up telling Betty, we're knocking it off, he's a nice guy, we're stopping. But Betty is not convinced because Betty is still having really bad feels about Chick. The other issue is that her sister comes home with the twins because Papa Blossom apparently has a secret will, and there's going to be a reading, and in order to have this reading, all of the Blossom relatives need to be there, or if you're connected to the Blossoms, you need to be there, and as those babies are Jason's, and as weird in cousin Marion, cousin sleeping, whatever, stuff happened, Blossomness. So like that's happening, but this will reading means that there's going to be a big public thing. He wanted it read publicly, and he's going to explain how all of his assets are to be divided. So that's happening, and I think I said that's happening like 80 times. But there's all of that, and then, oh my gosh, Hal and Alice, he wants a divorce, announces that. Alice has no idea about the will reading, finds out from Polly about the will reading, then confronts Hal at the public will reading that he only wanted a divorce to keep her from getting the money because Blossom related, like he's the Blossom connection. So she's like, you didn't want me to get your money, like the whole thing, because she's like, this is all you, like you're trying to cut me out. So that's happening. Also, Cheryl and Tony are spending a lot of time together, and I very much like it. They were very cute together. I really liked it. Tony came to the will reading, and she got a makeover. Not that she couldn't afford whatever she wanted, but like Cheryl was like, oh, she even complimented her attire kind of, and was like, no, not that it's not great, but like, you should wear something fancy. So she's wearing like a really fancy black dress of Cheryl's. So that happens at the will reading. Cheryl finds out that she's getting money. She's one of the primary beneficiaries. And then, suddenly, a man who looks exactly like her father appears. Turns out, not her dad, it's the dead brother, who's not dead. He shows up, then reveals, while at dinner with Tony and Cheryl, he's been on the Isle of Lesbos, which literally leads to a spit take in the show. I was dying. I was like, what? What is happening? So he reveals he never actually died. He was threatened. He ran away. He's back. So now he's in the picture. So that's going on, but there's a stipulation in the will that is actually connected to this. So people will get money based on their blood relation to the Blossoms. So what Betty, Polly, and not Alice herself, but like they're going to get blood tested to prove like we're connected to the Blossoms so they can get money, which is really why Hal went to the reading and then didn't tell anybody, because he'd get a larger chunk of money because he would have been one of the fewer people, so now more people are going to go in. So Alice is like saying they're going, I'll go get blood tested, and Chick refuses. And so Betty's like, why are you refusing? She's confronting him about this, and when he finally says like, it triggers me, I'm not going. So she steals dental floss. I didn't actually know you could DNA test from dental floss. I'm sure, I'm not even going to try and say you can't, because I don't know. So she sends that, and then she informs Chick that at the end of the episode, she knows he's lying. He's not who he says he is. And so we don't know who he is exactly, but he's apparently not Alice and Hal's kid. But did we ever know if Chick was actually Alice and Hal's kid? Like, there's a possibility, like, she could have had another boyfriend. I'm not saying, like, cheating scenario. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying Alice wasn't faithful. That's not what I'm getting at. I'm just wondering if, like, she and Hal, because they were teenagers, or like something happened, or like, even if not, like some weird's going on. I don't know. Maybe he stole Chick's identity? I have no idea. So we shall see, but he's apparently not related to them, or at least to Hal. And Chick is crazy this episode. He just like, he's really weird and saying like there's not enough love to go around. Polly, he doesn't want Polly or the babies there. He wants them gone. Like this whole big thing. He's like trying to get them away because they're taking all of their mom's love. And I'm like, oh my god. And so at one point, Polly actually thinks that he killed her kids because they come home, the babies aren't there, neither is Chick. And I was like, he took them for a walk by Sweetwater River. And Polly's like, ah! And he didn't kill them, which is good. That would have been awful. But like Chick is just doing very weird things, and I don't know what's going on with him. So this episode was a lot of like reveals and plot setup, because Archie also does this like weird blood oath with Highr'd, and I was like, what are you doing? It's a lot of like Archie doing not okay stuff. Like I was like, oh boy, what are you doing, Archie? Like you can't just casually sort of be in the mob and not fully commit to the mob or like pretend to fully commit and then back out. Like that doesn't happen. So yeah, I don't know what's happening with Archie. I'm kind of worried he's gonna get beat up hardcore by some people. So yeah, there was that. There was also this running discussion about Dracula in this episode, and I actually, like, I have a prop to discuss this, because they kept saying Dracula bought up all this land, Dracula, and like vampires kept coming up. They kept calling Highr'd a vampire. And okay, very recently, actually possibly even this week, because I just went to my comic book store and it said, okay, this does not help. I think this came out this week, if not last week. So there's currently, this just started, a Vampironica Riverdale series. It's not connected to the television show, but in it, Veronica becomes a vampire. This is just the first issue. Not a lot has happened. She just has fangs. That's all you need to know. That's not really all you need to know. You should get this if you like vampires and Veronica and the Archie world. But this came out and I kept thinking, is this a plug? Are we plugging Vampironica secretly? Because I read the comic before I watched the episode and then they kept saying it and I was like, vampires, what is going on with all the vampires? I don't know. You should also definitely be reading the Riverdale attached comic that goes with the TV show. So it's like these outside stories and you get to see what's happening to people who aren't in the main show. Like they've been showing what Reggie's up to. Really only Reggie in the last one. They did a little bit with Josie. So there's like some stuff in there that's really interesting. They've done some stuff with Pops too. But Pops did tell Jughead specifically that Highr'd bought the diner. That's why I'm wearing the shirt. They had to sit down at confab, and Pop actually asked him not to tell anyone. He can't go on the record about it because his mother is still alive, and he can't, like, break her by saying, like, I sold the diner. So there is that. It was a lot of reveals. It was a lot of setup. So this episode, like, moved pretty quickly, but it was also a lot of, like, this is happening, we're setting up for longer plots, because eventually the show does finale. Like, it's gonna finale, I think in May? It's a ways out because this is a really long season, but they are setting it up to, like, tie plots up, I think. So a lot of this was, like, plot development-y stuff that is necessary, but doesn't elicit a lot of, like, ah! kind of stuff. But anyway. Let me know what you thought of the episode in the comments below or over on Twitter. I am at ClefNotes. Find me on my blog, clefnotes.wordpress.com, or for the Nerdy Girl Express, thenerdygirlexpress.com, and our other Snapchat, the Nerdy Girl EXP. Bye, internet people.